today I'm going to talk about some updates and trends that are going on with EB2 NIW petitions that I've seen come across our firm, whether it be on people that retain us to do their petition or people that receive an RFE, which is a request for evidence, just stating that, USCIS needs more information. So first, I'm going to start overall with the visa bulletin update. So in the visa bulletin, it goes by fiscal year. So October 1st is the first of the fiscal year. So there's always some anticipation for that month in particular, just kind of seeing how the next following year is going to be with trends and things like that. So they predict that there's going to be 165,000 green cards, which is a decrease from last year. But you see, it's not such bad news because there is a mandate of 140,000 minimum, and then any unclaimed that are from the last year on the family-based green cards rolls over to employment-based. So I'm talking today about employment-based visas, particularly the EB2 NIW, National Interest Waiver, that people petition on their own behalf because they have advanced degrees or exceptional abilities. And everything I say is pretty much tailored towards that particular angle today. So while there is a decrease from last year, it's still higher than the mandate of at least 140,000. So it's been a little bit higher just because of COVID, and it's kind of evening out now as time goes on. So like I said, October is usually an important month because it's kind of goes to show how things are going to be. So for the first time in recent history, you'll see here, this is the visa bulletin I copied out from the website, and they are using dates filed. There's two different charts, and they'll tell you which one they're using that month. So for October and for November, they're both using the dates filed chart. And you'll see here, these are the different preferences. So EB2, this is the second preference. This is the current priority date of January 1st, 2023 for a rest of world, they call it, which means anyone that's not from China, India, Mexico, or the Philippines. You'll see the Philippines is actually the same date as rest of world, but you'll notice that there is and so is Mexico, but you'll see that there is definitely a longer wait for those from India and from those from China, but especially India. So this means, once you have your approved NIW, you have to then wait for your date to become current before you can file for your adjustment of status. It's your I-485 if you are in America, or it's your DS-260 if you are living outside of America. So for the first time in the October bulletin, this was not current. So typically, because it's the beginning of the fiscal year, they make it current. And then they kind of delays kind of go after that from the rest of the year. So it's a bit unusual for there to be delays, but so basically this just means that it might end up taking a little bit longer than usual to get your visa after you have your approved one. So then we go to the November. So they typically give you the next month's visa bulletin sometime the month before. So we can already see November, and you'll notice that this is pretty much the same exact dates from the October bulletin. So they did not progress at all. And some experts I was looking at kind of predict that maybe there will be a little bit jump in the December bulletin. Maybe it will advance a couple of weeks or a month or something like that. But of course, these things are never for sure. You can predict, just like the weather, you can't really nail it down exactly as you had hoped that you could. So those are predictions that maybe it'll start moving again in December, but I guess we won't really know until they release that information. So the next thing that I've noticed a lot is a lot of clients are hoping to open up a business for their proposed endeavor. So I'm kind of switching topics now. So for the NIW petition itself, you need to have a proposed endeavor. And what is that? A proposed endeavor is what you plan to do in America that will help America fix some sort of a problem that it's having. Lots of things are happening with the environment. There's lots of national initiatives showing that the government's interested in advancing, electronic vehicles. They're interested in reducing waste, a whole bunch of things like that, improving like the supply chain, those sorts of things help, America as a whole, if not the world as a whole. So for your proposed endeavor, it should be tailored, obviously, to whatever your background is, right? So it should be related to whatever your advanced degree is. It should be related to what experience you've been able to kind of cultivate and that sort of a thing. As to how you would come to America, or if you're already here, how you would continue to help America advance in these sorts of things. So a lot of the time, some clients come in and they think, oh, well, I can do that easily if I make my own business, right? So you're kind of thinking maybe it'll make my proposed endeavor, easier to see if that it's broadly applicable across the country. We want to show that it's at least regional. At least, we've had clients come in and do things that, are related to like the wildfires in California, which obviously is not a thing for the entire country, but it's definitely a concern in California and some surrounding states over there. So, that's what we mean about broadly applicable. So you want to make sure that it makes sense for you, that it makes sense for America, and that's what the entire foundation is of this application. So when is it a good idea to include a business plan? So I have a few ideas here. So if you have an idea for a short-term business, meaning you want to open it within 5 years, there's additional things that you're going to have to prove to USCIS along with everything else. Say your expertise is in, lithium ion batteries for EV vehicles or something like that. You're going to have to prove how you're capable of advancing those batteries or helping implement something better about them. And you're also going to have to prove that you have business knowledge. So it's kind of makes it a lot more complicated, I guess. But it's totally fine as long as you have these things that you can show. So if you are opening a business, or you already maybe have started and have one incorporated or filed somewhere, they want to see a business plan. They want to know, have you taken these initial steps to actually make this true, make this into reality. So they want to see a business plan. And at Raju Law, I just made a partnership with Gewalt Consulting, and they are great because they specifically make business plans for immigrants that are applying for these type of petitions. So they have, your exact interest and your exact roadmap. So so-called aligned with their goals. So, having something like that, because, at Raju Law, we're not business attorneys, we're immigration attorneys. So when it comes to creating your own business, we have our own limitations. So that's why I made this partnership, so that clients that we have that may need business plans made, because, obviously it's part of their goals, and we have this partnership that we can, refer you to. So business plans are very important. You have to show, and this is not, you don't have to show everything, but the more you show, the better, right? The more evidence we have, it shows that you are, capable of doing these things. So these are things like showing interest from a potential customer or client. Maybe there's some sort of organization or something that would be interested in furthering whatever it is that you're trying to do, and you get a letter from them, an email from them, something that we can attach showing that they are interested. So then next you want to show your financial funding. So, do you have an investor lined up? Do you have a loan that you could potentially tap into? Are you putting through your own money and things like that? I see a question posted, but I'll answer any questions at the end. So if you don't mind just saving that question, and I'll answer it at the end. So going along with this list here. So business knowledge, showing some clients might have multiple masters. They might have a master's in their actual field, and then they might have an MBA in something with business to show that they are capable of doing both. Sometimes they'll have some sort of a course or some sort of an extra educational thing that you can show that you've gained some knowledge as to how to run a business. It's a totally different ball game running a business versus just being the researcher or the person that is involved in advancing whatever the thing is that you're interested in. And if you don't have any business knowledge, then at least if you can show that you are partnering with someone that does, maybe you are more of the scientific person and your partner is more of the business person, and they kind of handle more of those aspects. These are things that they're going to want to know. Did you consider all of these things? Do you know how to hire people? Do you know how to, figure out if you are going to be profitable? Those sorts of things. They want to know, do you have a location for this business? Do you have something secured? What is your plan? How many employees do you think you're going to hire? Because hiring employees is one of the great things that you can show for national importance part of the NIW by, in this petition, they like to see that you are able to create jobs for the American labor market, but they only want to do it if they're able to understand your story and understand all of the work that maybe you're putting into getting this thing into a reality. So then the next thing is a long-term business plan. So if you have a plan of maybe, 10 plus years down the line, so we like to kind of show these things in steps or in short-term goals versus long-term goals. So if your goal is to do a business maybe 10 years down the line, your short-term goal might be to obtain a position where you further advance your knowledge and skills in whatever your niche is and whatever your industry is. And then maybe closer towards the 10-year line, that is when you would then, look to gain that business knowledge that we talked about. Maybe you would get some sort of business certificate or, try to get that business knowledge going on in your life to show that, you do want to do this in the future. But there's a lot less to prove because it's 10 plus years down the line. So, by being a little bit more vague and not having like that investor lined up or not having that location space, like that's fine because it's 10 plus years. It's just like a future goal somewhere down the line. You think that this might be helpful to, your career and for the industry itself. So it's definitely not as much to prove, not as much to talk about. And it's much more of showing an idea versus a short-term business. You have to really show proof that you're ready to go. So this was what I was talking about before. We did make a partnership with Gewalt Consulting. If anyone is interested in, talking about business plans, please email me for more information. I'll be happy to introduce you to them. So that way, having a business plan, it also shows like what your mission is and your goals and things like that. So it really is helpful if you are having a business plan as part of your NIW petition.